agricultural and household chemicals that are being sprayed onto the fields or that are being released through industry and down the drains of our households. And when the rain falls on the fields or when the drains go out into the rivers, eventually it ends up in the sea. The forests are one great ecosystem that is able to absorb CO2 from the atmosphere and sequester it. When we cut down the forest, all of this CO2 is released, particularly if the trees are burned. The ocean is the other great ecosystem that absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And as the ocean becomes more acidic, it becomes incapable of absorbing CO2 from the atmosphere. And it's absorbed so much in some places it cannot absorb anymore. And it's leading to the death of the coral reefs. We know too much about what we're doing, how we're polluting the very air we breathe. We know about human sickness. And we know too about climate change. I don't suppose there's anybody in this space who's a climate change denier, unless Donald Trump is out in the woods. There's one aspect of climate change that we tend not to think about so much. And that is that as countries around the world are getting more wealthy, and people are getting more wealthy, one of the things that's happening, particularly in places like China, more meat is eaten. It's a status symbol. And as a result of that, there are literally billions of animals, cows, pigs, geese, ducks, and so on, around the world being bred for us to eat. And never mind the sickening cruelty, but there are other aspects of this huge consumption of meat. This is why I carry this little person with me. She was given to me in the dairy state, Wisconsin, and I was going to give her away to a deserving child. And then I thought, no, she's going to help me. Her name is a very imaginative one. She is Cow. And Cow helps me explain that to feed these billions of animals, whole forests are cut down to grow grain to feed them. Cattle are allowed to graze out in the forest, which quickly turns to woodland and becomes increasingly degraded. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in Tanzania, and I've seen it happen in Argentina, to mention two places. And it's very wasteful of water. We're using huge amounts of water. And of course, food goes in this end, and with cows they belch because they ruminate, so gas comes out as well. But all of them produce gas the other end. I mean, we do too. And it's methane, or methane, shall you say. And that is a much more virulent greenhouse gas than CO2. And if you don't care about the environment, and you don't care about the cruelty, you probably care because to keep these poor creatures alive in these terrible conditions in the factory farms, they are routinely fed antibiotics. And they get out in the environment, and the bacteria are building up resistance. People have died from a simple scratch on a finger. And the Surgeon General in the UK, about 9 months ago, made this speech in which he said, the era of the antibiotic is almost over. That is a scary thought. And it is admitted that the main use of antibiotics is in intensive animal farming. So all of these problems that we humans are inflicting on the planet brings me to talk about the differences between us and chimpanzees. I spent a lot of time talking about similarities.